Welcome to Zombie Strange, the podcast that watches all the zombie films. This week, we have our first superhero.
The Batman!
A campy villain too smart for his own good.
That'd be absurd. That simpering idiot could never be the Batman.
And don't worry, Alfred is here.
How many did I kill?
7.
But there were only 4 of the ruffians.
You killed 3 of them twice.
That's right, it's An Evening with Batman and Robin.
You know, I've seen people act like that in pictures. What do they call them? Zombies or something?
Zombie.
What's a zombie?
Just what is a zombie?
Well, a zombie, there's, Mr. Bill is... The living dead.
They are the living dead.
Get into zombies.
Is a zombie.
Because a zombie has no will of his own.
Against an army of zombies, no armies could stand.
What is wrong? What is wrong?
Hey everybody, I'm John.
I'm Andy.
And I'm Brad.
So I said in the intro, that's our first superhero movie. Technically, we've watched a Santo movie, and I consider him a superhero.
I thought the same
However, it came out after this.
And everyone missed the opportunity to growl, I'm Batman,
I'm Batman.
into the mic when you asked.
I will say the actor here, I think, does a different voice for Batman. He sounds a little gruffer when he's Batman, but not quite Christian Bale. Yes,
Right.
That's right. We're watching okay, people, the sacrifices we make for you. We are watching
You have no idea, listeners.
a 3-hour, 15-part serial that was shown in movie theaters in 1943. It is a piece of Second World War war propaganda, and it is painfully uncomfortable in many places. So, with that said, there were a couple of fun bits in here, so we'll get to those. How'd you do, Andy? Yeah, you okay?
It got a little rough. I found myself eyeing more and more the YouTube playback speed button as we got further and further into this.
I have not yet played a movie other than 1X, but this was the closest I ever came. However, before we get there, we have some zombies fun to discuss. Didn't you have something, Producer Brad?
Yeah, so in LA, there's a theater here that's showing all the Bond films every couple of weeks. And this past week, I saw On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Yes, starring, what's his name?
George Lazenby, his only appearance as Bond. Now, do you remember the plot of this one?
I don't. And I even read the book and have seen the movie multiple times.
So the plot is Blofeld has this lab atop the Alps, and he's brought in all these young women who have allergies. And what Bond discovers is at night, he has this signal that goes out into their individual rooms, and he's sort of mesmerizing them so he can send them back to their own countries and release, I can't remember if it's a virus or something. So it sort of fits into all these early zombie films where there's a zombie master who can control people, but then they can be returned back to human form quickly.
Well, now I want to watch it again.
See, I heard that and thought, I'm never going to watch that. So maybe that's how we differ.
Well, friend of the show, Matt Wilson, says that's the best James Bond movie.
Many Bond people say it's the best one because of the writing and the directing and the editing.
Yes.
The actor needs some help. He's not the best of them, but he does okay.
Yes.
He's very physical, and he's a great fighter in the fight scene.
And just to have a hot take before we switch topics, my favorite James Bond film is the Daniel Craig's Casino Royale. So I think that's the best one. So
I like that one
I don't
a
know
lot too.
how many listeners that just cost us, but there you go.
I thought about James Bond a lot while watching this, actually, just because the villain is such a James Bondian villain in his lair. And I was wondering if you guys were cottoning onto that at all.
A little bit. He's got his layer is very Bond villainish. Also, somebody, have you heard of these, Brad? Michael Caine did a series of spy films in the 70s that I think
the Ipcris Files?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they were like a riff on, I feel like they were just a ripoff of Bond. Somebody was describing one of the plots to me where they like smuggled somebody across from East Berlin in a coffin or something. I'm like, that's the plot of at least 2 Bond films that I can think of. So
Harry Saltzman, who was one of the Bond producers in the beginning, he did the Ipcris File and the sequels.
Okay.
It was his attempt to have another franchise.
Yes, with Michael Caine, who I like Michael Caine, but James Bond he is not. So
yeah, the character he plays is Harry Palmer.
Harry Palmer. All right. Well,
I don't know any supervillain plan that doesn't involve a lot of allergenic women being manipulated to go to their countries. And what do? They spread their allergy or something like that? I don't know.
I honestly forgot.
Is that ripped from the headlines of the real Cold War?
who knows?
I bet there was a CIA project to do that at least at one point during the
I'm sure there
during
was.
the Cold War, right?
All right. Well, let's talk about this thing. We watched a movie. We didn't. We watched an incredibly long movie serial.
So you guys have been saying 3 hours for the duration of this. I like got a calculator out and punched in the episode lengths, and it was more like 4.2 hours. So either I watched like a lot of extra episodes or what?
If you watch the YouTube channel that had all the chapters in their entirety, that was over 4 hours.
That's what I
There's
watched.
another one that clips them, so it removes the recaps, and so it shortens it down to 3 hours and something.
Well, we'll get to that, but yeah, each bit is like 17 minutes long, but 7 minutes of those are a replay of the previous episode. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Let's get into this. Do you want to take us there, Brad, and tell us how this thing got made and why it got made?
Sure. And don't be surprised when we land back in the world of James Bond with this.
All right, I'm ready.
Okay, I'm looking forward to it.
All right, the Columbia serial The Batman was originally released in 1943. It was directed by Lambert Hillier, who has over 150 credits between 1917 and 1956.
Wow.
He directed Dracula's Daughter in 1936 and many westerns in the 40s. In the 50s, at the end of his career, he transitioned to TV, and he directed 40 episodes of the Cisco Kid series, which I watched as a kid on Channel 20, I think. I don't know about you, John.
Interesting. I don't remember that one. I do remember the Lone Ranger, but not the Cisco Kid.
Now, Victor McLeod, Leslie Swabacker, and Harry L. Fraser wrote the serial. McLeod worked often with Walter Lantz on animated shorts. Lantz is most famous for the Woody Woodpecker shorts. McLeod wrote many of the Oswald the Lucky Rabbit shorts for Lantz and Universal Studios. Oswald was created by Walt Disney in 1927, and after Universal got full control of the character, Disney created Mickey Mouse. Oswald remained a Universal property until 2006, when NBC Universal traded Disney the Oswald rights in exchange for Al Michaels, the sports broadcaster. NBC wanted Michaels to be on their new Sunday night football broadcast.
Well, he was very successful, may we say.
Swabacker and McLeod also wrote on the Phantom serial, released the same year as The Batman. Harry L. Fraser was a writer and director. He wrote and directed the 1946 movie The White Gorilla, which starred Ray Corrigan as both the hero and, in his Corrigan gorilla suit, the White Gorilla.
Well, was it a separate suit? Was it a white suit, or did he paint it, or what? God, I have so many questions. Sorry.
I'll give you a link so you can watch. All right. So the cast. Lewis Wilson played Bruce Wayne and the Batman. He was 23 at the time and married to Dana Natal, an actress.
He was 23? He
was 23.
40.
Yeah, he does. Yes. It's that phenomenon we've noted before, John. Everyone at this era looks about 15 years older than they actually were.
Now, Lewis and his wife, Dana, had one child, Michael. Lewis and Dana divorced in the late 40s, and this is where my fandoms collide, and I can't believe I didn't know this trivia. In 1959, Dana married a film producer named Albert Broccoli.
Aha!
Oh.
Okay, you guys know who that is. He started the James Bond films.
Yes.
Then Michael Wilson became Broccoli's stepson, and he wrote 5 consecutive Bond films from For Your Eyes Only through License to Kill.
Wilson did?
And produced... Michael G. Wilson did. You'll see his name in all of them. And he produced all Bond films from A View to a Kill through No Time to Die.
Oh, wow.
And Michael Wilson and his half-sister Barbara ran the Bond empire together until last year when they made a deal with Amazon. And Amazon now controls the Bond films.
Well, they control the franchise. Who knows what they're going to do with it is the terrifying part.
They control the future.
Yes. I believe Barbara had some choice words said privately about her opinion about Amazon's ability to execute. So we don't have to get into that.
That was before, she was talking about algorithms and merchandising. And then after she said that, they did the deal.
There you go.
So, all right. Douglas Croft played Robin. He was 17 when he played Robin. He was a child actor who often played the younger version of the lead. In Yankee Doodle Dandy, he played the young version of George M. Cohan. Jimmy Cagney played the adult. He played young Lou Gehrig in The Pride of the Yankees to Gary Cooper's adult. His last acting credit is in 1947 when he was 21 years old, and he died young at the age of 37.
I know. He's got some hair. Like, wow.
Yeah, trying to remember from my comics, it looks more like Damian Wayne than Dick Grayson hair.
Yeah, it looks like he stuck his finger in his socket.
Yeah. Shirley Patterson plays Linda Page, Bruce Wayne's constantly jilted girlfriend.
Is she from the comics? I have no memory of Linda Page, but I didn't read the old ones.
I don't know. This serial introduced the Batcave, which then went to the comics from the serial. So I have a feeling that Lena Page was new to the serial as well.
It didn't introduce the Batcave. It introduced the Bats Cave. So let's just be clear about that. It's a cave with bats. It's a Bats Cave.
The bats own it. Yeah,
it's under the mansion.
Yeah, and he's got a desk and a chair. He just sits at his desk, which is amazing.
Shirley Patterson appeared in many B movies and serials. After getting married, she went by the name Shawn Smith and appeared on TV and sci-fi films. One of her last credits is the 1958 movie It, The Terror from Beyond Space, which was directed by one of our favorite zombie film directors, Edward L. Kahn.
Oh, all right.
Kahn directed 4 zombie films in the 50s that we have watched.
All right.
J. Carroll Nash plays the villain, Dr. Dacca. He was born in Ireland, but had a dark complexion that led him to be cast in many ethnic roles.
May I just pause here and say that this is a very insulting ethnic stereotype of Japanese people that he is playing here. And I just wanted to get that out of the way. This is 1943. It is war propaganda. And when they said they were going to fight the Axis, I said, who doesn't want to see Batman punching Nazis? And then they started talking, they started using racial slurs against Japanese people. And I was like, oh no, here we go. So fair warning to everybody. It's pretty bad. We are not going to play any of them here. We're not going to discuss that in depth, but it's pretty bad in this one.
No, but you will hear in the clips Dacca's accent.
Yes.
The stereotype in that. So that's as far as we'll go in terms of showing the racism.
Yes.
John, you wanted Batman punching Hitler, and you got Batman putting Japanese Americans into internment camps.
That's exactly what this was. I don't even want to laugh about it. I'm laughing because it's uncomfortable. It was really uncomfortable.
Well, this wasn't the only time Nash played a character like this. In the 50s, he starred as Charlie Chan on the TV series The New Adventures of Charlie Chan.
Aha.
Now, what's cool is that on the show, his son was played by James Hong, who we know and love from Big Trouble in Little China and Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah.
All right, continuing with racial stereotypes, Charles Middleton, who played Colton, he's the man who finds the radio mine in the serial.
Yes.
He has over 200 acting credits. Ooh. He was the original Ming the Merciless in the 1936 Flash Gordon serial.
Oh, wow. And he's the only one in this film with a beard.
Well, Alfred puts on a beard to
appear like him.
To be.
Yeah, we got to talk about Alfred, but carry on.
All right, so now why are we watching this 1943 film in 1965? Well, in the summer of 65, the Playboy Theater in Chicago started showing the Batman serial on weekends, one episode before art house films. It was a hit with the audience, so Hugh Hefner then put all the chapters together in one film and called it An Evening with Batman and Robin. Columbia Pictures noticed how successful this was, and they made an official version of An Evening with Batman and Robin, which they released around the country. At the same time, ABC was developing a Batman TV show, and there are internet rumors that ABC execs went to a Playboy club and saw An Evening with Batman and Robin, and then decided to produce the show. No one knows if this is true. What is true is the ABC Batman show premiered in January 1966, just months after An Evening with Batman and Robin went national. If nothing else, the serial proved an appetite for a campy Batman. And if you remember, the TV show was structured like a serial.
Yes.
The stories were 2 episodes each with a cliffhanger at the end of the first episode, followed by a recap at the start of the second, just like the 43 Batman serial.
And when I was a boy, I watched the 1966 Batman like it was religion. Like I took it, I was too young to understand that it was a satire, and I took it very seriously, and I loved it.
Yeah, I thought that was Batman. I didn't know there was another one.
Yes.
Even the scene where he's running around with the bomb, and you didn't clock the
some days,
humor in that.
You can't get it. Well, no. So here's the thing: the movie. I didn't see the movie when I was a kid. I just saw the TV show. So the movie I saw as an adult, and I thought it was funny. Like I got the joke, and later I got the joke. But at the time when I was, it came out before I was born. But when I watched reruns in the 70s as a 5 or 6 year old, it all seemed deathly serious to me.
Well, guys, that is what I have for production notes. So, Andy, do you have any history you want to bring in?
I do. I have 2 angles I want to take with our historical context. One, you guys don't need me to talk much about World War II, which was going on when this was released. But it's worth noting this came out in mid-1943. And if you recall, I think an astute observer in mid-1943 would have understood that the initiative of the war was passing from the Axis to the Allies.
Yes.
There's two events in 42, 43 that are often kind of pointed to as sort of the turning point of the war. Those are the Battle of Stalingrad, which was, I think, late 1942.
Yep.
And then the Battle of Midway, which has happened like literally weeks before this serial hit theaters.
Yes.
And it's a little simplistic to say the war turned on those two events, but they kind of foreshadowed that the balance was shifting against the Axis at that time. That said, there were years left of the war, and if you were Joe or Jane American at home, you had another year or two, of nervous anticipation and to some extent deprivation before the war came to an end. Did you have any thoughts on that, John?
No, I just a couple of things. So the Battle of Midway has always fascinated me, and I think it fascinates a lot of military historians because it's too much to say that America got lucky, but the Japanese gave them an opportunity that they exploited that caused the Japanese to lose a lot of their naval power, and it was a mistake, basically, that let us get ahead. So, yeah.
I agreed. Yeah, it is hard to talk about Midway without talking about luck, right? And it's not to denigrate like the heroism or professionalism of the people that participated on both sides of that conflict, but luck played a really big role. And, we didn't win World War II because of, quote, luck, but turns like that certainly didn't hurt.
Yeah, so we won't get into it. But also I'll say, so being mid-war, one thing that all cultures do when they're at war is they demonize their opponents, right? And I think to our modern eyes, it just seems a little worse because this demonizes Japanese people. We could, if it were demonizing Germans, we wouldn't feel the same way because we identify Germans as people like ourselves and feel like, oh, we can make fun of them in some way, which also isn't correct. But yeah, it's just the level of vitriol against Japanese in this was surprising.
Well, you're demonizing the Germans for their actions,
yes.
Whereas the Japanese, you're demonizing them for their appearance.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah, and what makes it worse or feel worse is that this is a medium for children. Right?
That's the most troubling part. Everything out this is just for kids. Like this is clearly targeted at like 8-year-olds.
Yeah, grown adults in the 1940s were smart enough to not be racist, but they made a racist piece of propaganda for their kids to watch.
Yeah.
And that is a depressing thing to think about.
It is.
So, well, hey, there's one other thing I wanted to talk about, and that is the use of superheroes as wartime propaganda.
Yeah.
Are either of you guys kind of comic book people?
I have. I was in the past. Brad is. We both are.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the year 1940 to 1941, comics is pretty new. Batman's only a couple years old.
That's right.
At this point. Like he's pretty much brand new, and Superman's not that much older. And there's this period of like 1 or 2 years where we got a ton of, I will say, like propaganda superheroes.
Yeah, for sure.
So I actually made a list of some of the superheroes that came up that were created between 1940 and 1941. Okay, so here's my list. Okay, I'm interested if you have heard of these. Some of them have gotten like kind of rebooted or retconned in the modern era as I think comic book publishers have looked into the back catalog to see who they can, pull back out. But so we have Uncle Sam, who looks just like, Uncle Sam. I think he's a reincarnated Revolutionary War soldier, but he looks like the Uncle Sam on the posters. We have the first patriotic themed superhero who came out before Captain America, named The Shield. He came out in 1940.
I've not heard of him.
And if you Google him, you will see, okay, like they didn't quite get it right. Like this is why we remember Captain America, not The Shield, because he looks like an idiot. But we have The Fighting Yank in 1941. Miss Victory, Miss America, who's a Wonder Woman knockoff.
All right.
U.S. Jones, who I'd never heard of. He has no superpowers, for what it's worth. The Star Spangled Kid.
That sounds good.
Captain Flag. And John, who do you think Captain Flag? What do you think is the name of Captain Flag's sidekick?
Oh man, Kid kid stripes. I don't know what.
Okay, you're going the right direction. He had a sidekick named Stripesy. He looks like the biggest idiot of this bunch if you Google his costume. Like, so clearly they're like, we've just like, obviously the aesthetic of their costume has to be the U.S. flag.
Right.
So they're just basically like, how can we stretch the flag on different parts of this person's body? And anyway, and then lastly, we had Yank and Doodle, who are in 1941, who are identical but very patriotic twins.
Nice.
So,
well, we see why Captain America came out of that mess. He's pretty straightforward, and they had that great issue where he's just punches Hitler like on a poster, which is great.
Captain America #1.
Yeah.
So speaking of punching Hitler, so Superman wade into World War II.
Yep.
And John, let's see, I think in the year 1940, Superman captured 2 world leaders, and I have to imagine this was frantically retconned a year or two later.
You've shown your hand.
Who do you think he captured?
Well,
Yeah.
I know, based on what you just said, one of them was Stalin.
Yes, he captured Hitler in the same page.
Yeah.
He captured Hitler, then he flew to Moscow and captured Stalin and brought them before the League of Nations.
There you go.
To face justice. So I just wanted to close here to say that, so Batman didn't so much in the comics like go out and punch Nazis, but he was used for bond selling campaigns.
Yes.
And so Batman, a couple of like heroes that I think we all remember today were used like heavily for, you would get ads for like buying war bonds, and they would turn to the reader and say, buy a war bonds periodically. Batman, the Human Torch, and Submariner were used heavily for these.
Yes.
I almost forgot. There was another group of patriotic heroes called the Boy Commandos that had one person from each allied power, and they always encouraged readers to help with scrap metal and paper drives.
Nice.
So
the one it wasn't modern. It was from the 70s and 80s, but the one World War II comic I was always interested in was the Haunted Tank. Do you remember the Haunted Tank?
I do remember the Haunted Tank. Yes.
It was like horror stories, but a tank.
So I just want to close with one thing. And so the reason there was this frenzy of comic book characters built to carry propaganda to readers is because at the beginning of World War II, 44% of U.S. soldiers described themselves as regular comic book readers.
Oh, interesting.
So it's these are it's an enormously popular medium. And of course, the government is going to say, like, how can we leverage this to put out the messages that we want? So that ends my historical context. But I didn't have a lot of fun watching this Batman serial. I did have a lot of fun Googling all of these ridiculously costumed propaganda heroes.
We found ways to distract ourselves with other things. Like I had to do a deep dive to figure out what plane this was. So
That's right.
Yeah.
So, hey, we've been putting it off long enough, John. Do you mind giving us kind of a 60 second overview? But before we do, I just want to say, we have covered one serial in the past, the Zombies of the Stratosphere. And so if you go back and listen to our discussion around that, I think you'll get more info about like how serials are structured and released and stuff like that. We're not going to repeat all of that in this episode.
No. Just super briefly, I'll mention they were short 15-minute shows that were at the beginning of a movie, and then they would say, and the next one comes out next week, to get people to come back to the theater. So, and each episode would have a recap of the previous episode in case you missed it. So in this case, this is 15 parts, but I can sum it up very easily. Batman and Robin cross swords with a Japanese spy who has invented a secret weapon called the radium gun, and he's going to use it to disrupt U.S. infrastructure and kill people. And the entire plot is the villain, Daka, trying to get parts or resources for his radium gun, which he loses at one point, and he has to build another one. And meanwhile, Batman foils him at every turn. And so he then becomes obsessed with killing the Batman, including kidnapping Linda and kidnapping Batman's friend. And in the end, Batman stops him, captures him, and the United States is saved. Like, I don't think there's a lot beyond that going on here. It's just every episode is
the zombie part,
and there's a zombie part. I'm sorry. Wow. I just missed the zombie part. That's why we're here. So Daka, the one thing that Daka does is he captures people. He does some sort of procedure on their heads and then puts a little tinfoil hat on them, and they become zombies, which he uses to do various tasks like lift and carry things. So, sorry, I missed the whole point there. How about that,
Brad,
Eddie?
I'm upset that Brad hasn't been playing the American national anthem while you were reciting that. I felt stirred too.
Yeah, but all I want to say is that every time Daka has to get something for his evil plans, and every time Batman tries to stop him, and that's just what every episode is, and it just repeats.
Well, I don't know if this is just a coincidence or not, but that was also basically the plot structure of Zombies of the Stratosphere, was the search for parts. And the hero was just disrupting their supply chain every episode, which is kind of dumb and boring.
It is kind of dumb and boring. And also the problem here is, one of my notes says Batman sucks, which means
he does.
I've never seen it. Batman get
hot take. Get that. Yeah. I need you to isolate that, producer Brad.
Yeah, there you go. But because he loses all the time. Like, I'm just not used to a world in which Batman gets his butt kicked.
Well, I do want to talk. I'm going to be driving the discussion today, and I do want to talk about the character of Batman as presented in the serial versus the one that we have all seen in Christopher Nolan movies, and et cetera, et cetera. So, but let's go ahead and get started. So here is what I propose we do. There's no way we're going to go through all 15 episodes in detail.
No. So and nobody needs that, by the way.
Nobody needs or wants that. So I propose that we talk about the first episode in a kind of our usual level of detail. And then after that, we do what we did in Zombies of the Stratosphere, which is just summarize each chapter, allow a minute to talk about anything that jumped out at us about that episode, but not go through those in detail. Does that sound like a good plan? All right, so let's jump right in then. Okay, so the first episode is called The Electrical Brain.
Yes.
It is the first and longest, and I think it goes about 25 minutes. All of the other chapters after this one are just 15 minutes, about a third of which is recaps of the previous chapter.
Yes.
So let's dive in. And John, I'll say the first thing that struck me here is the music. Were you struck by the music at all?
It sounded like old-timey silent movie music to me, like somebody's tied to the tracks and the orchestra's playing something stressful. That was sort of my impression. What did you think?
Yeah, well, I had two things jumped out at me. One is it's dramatic music.
Yes.
It's not
comic.
I mean,
this is not a comedy technically.
Yeah. My touchstone for early Batman is the Goofy TV show.
Right.
And it's just interesting that this is pretty serious, I think. I was listening. I do think you can hear hints here of the Danny Elfman and then the Christopher Nolan era soundtracks. Like, not that they're reusing pieces of it, but I do think there's little hints of that sort of gothic.
It reminded me of the animated Batman theme too.
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh, yep. Okay.
That's my favorite Batman, by the way. But anyway, carry on.
Yeah, so we open with Batman sitting in the Bat's cave.
At a desk.
I'll probably call it Bat Cave, but just please know that it is the Bat's cave.
Yes.
I wrote down he's sitting comically at a desk in a really fake-looking cavern.
Yes.
And Robin shows up. And John, what do you think of our heroes? The thing I noted down is they're both wearing costumes you would recognize, even if they're a little bit goofy and old-fashioned looking. Tell us about what they look like.
So Batman he's a little doughy, let's be honest. He's wearing this sort of gray and it's supposed to be dark blue or black, but it looks like two different shades of gray. He's got just a simple bat, just a black bat, no yellow circle or anything. And his utility belt is it looks like a wrestling belt. Like he just won the WWE. It's bright and shiny. And instead of like the ears sticking up on the sides like we're used to, he has these two like pointy things like sticking out at 45-degree angles from the sides of his head. And Robin is wearing what I would call a Lone Ranger mask. I had a mask like that when I was a kid, when I wanted to play Lone Ranger, and it looks just like a classic Black Bandit mask. It doesn't look like it particularly super. And the costumes look very handmade as well.
They do. They look exactly like Halloween costumes.
That's right.
If your kids dressed up like this, you would say that is clearly Batman. We get it.
Yeah.
It's also kind of sloppy and handmade looking, we get it.
Yeah, may I inject a small story about Halloween costumes?
By all means.
So when my son was 3 and 4, he was obsessed with Batman, and he spent a solid 6 months walking around in a Batman costume, or at least with a Batman t-shirt on at all times. It was delightful for me. So for Halloween that year, he wanted to go as Batman, and I told him I would go as Robin. So I made my own Robin costume, with small green running shorts and a yellow cape and the gloves and everything. He was thrilled. I have a picture of us that I will send to you privately if you really want to see it. I thought it was pretty hilarious. We went to a party down the street, across the street, and I forgot something at home, and I had to walk back by myself as Robin. And my elderly neighbor I walked by him, and he goes, "Oh, looking pretty good, John."
We should let our listeners know, how tall are you, John?
I'm 6'2".
Yeah.
And my son at the time was not maybe 3 feet tall.
The only response to your neighbor shouting that is to go home and immediately put a for sale sign.
I know, right?
There's no coming back from that.
But that was my most. I really enjoyed that costume, as cheesy as it was. And my costume looked about as good as this Robin's costume. So
okay, yeah. So we get pretty quickly. I want to play an audio clip that kind of will establish both the tone and the purpose of this. So let's hear the announcer introducing our characters.
They represent American youth who love their country and are glad to fight for it. Wherever crime raises its ugly head to strike with the venom of a maddened rattlesnake, Batman and Robin strike also. And in this very hour when the Axis criminals are spreading their evil over the world, even within our own land, Batman and Robin stand ready to fight them to the death.
Yeah. So in this era, Batman is the man, basically.
Yes.
Modern Batman, right? Like, he's trying to avoid the police, and in the Frank Miller version, he's almost a fascist trying to run society from below. We don't have the goody two shoes works for the American government. Batman is not one we're familiar with.
He takes his orders from Washington.
From Uncle Sam, it says.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we get a little bit of intro here where I think they kind of try to establish the rhythm of how Batman and Robin operate. So it opens with a scene that has appeared in several other later Batman movies where Batman leaves criminals out he ties them up and leaves them in front of the police station.
I kind of love this. Ties them up, leaves them, and then he puts a little I don't know what it is, something like a bat symbol on their foreheads, and he leaves them notes.
They look like cute little stickers of the bat symbol on their foreheads.
It was kind of great.
I mean, if you've seen some of visionary director Zack Snyder's Batman movies, he has Batman branding criminals.
Yeah.
I think I prefer this. I'm going to put a little cute sticker on your
that's
version. So.
Yeah.
And the police chief is Captain Arnold. So I don't know when Commissioner Gordon kind of entered the Batman mythos, but he's not in this serial. No. It's Captain Arnold. So while interrogating some thugs, Batman and Robin get one of the thugs to let loose the name Dr. Daka. And they don't know it at this time, but Daka is the name of the Japanese spymaster who is the supervillain throughout this whole serial.
Correct.
So they're in there. So we have a fairly familiar kind of civilian guise for Batman and Robin here.
Yep.
Their kind of day job is over at the Gotham Foundation, and Linda, Bruce Wayne's kind of sometimes girlfriend, I think.
Linda Page. Yep.
And just like the Batman we know, in his Bruce Wayne form, he is kind of a lazy dilettante who doesn't take anything very seriously and frustrates Linda with how cowardly and lazy he is.
Yes. I would like to say there's no Batmobile in this movie. When Batman and Robin have to go someplace, they go in the same car that Bruce Wayne drives everywhere, with Alfred driving most of the time. It is, just so we can get out of the way. So this is it is a 1939 Cadillac Fleetwood 75 convertible. So there you go. It's quite the car. It's a long black four-door. It's probably as long as a modern pickup truck, with like white
It
walled
looks
tires.
like a bus.
Yeah.
It looks like a bus. So this is as good a time as any. I really am going to get us on here with the plot, but I want to pause and just talk about the character of Batman.
Yes.
Because I think we have a couple things going on. First, Batman does not have a real well-developed backstory at this point in time.
No, they don't even bring it up. It's just assumed that Batman and Robin hang out together, and we don't know why.
Yeah, and also we're dealing with a serial, which kind of imposes its own limitations on how much time you can spend on characterization.
Yes.
But Batman in this serial, he is quite literally just a regular person who has put on this outfit and decided to go kind of fight crime.
Yes.
I don't know when the super gadget phase of Batman comes into being.
Yeah, he's got the belt, so I assume
he's got a belt, but like
he never uses
nothing
it.
he ever produces from it is more exciting than like a rope. Right. So he is definitely not the Batman with all his marvelous toys, that we'll get later, where he's got a jet that looks like a bat and a submarine that looks like a bat, and he's not wearing a armored bodysuit. And he doesn't have bat-shaped shuriken or anything like that.
And in fact, whenever something comes up, they go to great pains to like show him and Robin like changing their clothes in the back seat of his Cadillac.
Yes, exactly.
So historically, in 1939, he has a belt that has compartments with some gear in it.
Okay.
In the comic books.
All right.
So it's hard. I mean, the way he goes about his adventures in the serial, it's kind of hard to imagine what he's bringing to the situation that just like the regular police would not bring to a situation.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing super powered going on. And in particular, I'm almost done here, but so I was really surprised. There's no super villains in this.
No.
Like watching this made me realize how much of the flavor and the depth of Batman stories come from his rogues gallery.
Yes.
And when all he's doing is like fighting utterly interchangeable, identical looking thugs in suits and hats, there's not a lot to like even grab onto here as far as like Batman the character goes.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I feel like this is also the exact same problem that Zombies of the Stratosphere had, right? It'd be like four thugs in hats and suits fighting, except for this time they're fighting Batman. Like it seems like the same thing.
Yeah, and so my last comment is also something we talked about in Zombies of the Stratosphere. Like Batman and Robin, he doesn't have any weaknesses. He doesn't have there's no drama. There's no friction in his character. There's no personality.
No, except one thing. In one of the early episodes, so they come out of a grandfather clock, which I think they stole in the 1966 show, like when they come up from the Bat Cave.
The Bat's Cave,
sorry. And they sneak up on Alfred, who's reading a comic book, and they scare him and make fun of him for reading a comic book. And that's the other time I wrote the note, Batman sucks. I'm like, Bruce, you are a jerk to Alfred. They made Alfred look like a buffoon here in a way that he isn't, that we're not used to as well.
Yeah, for sure. So, all right, that's all I wanted to talk about.
Let me throw one other thing in there. Sorry. All of the elements that we know of Batman are actually here, though, right? Tying criminals to the post and having a cave and a secret identity, and everybody wants to find his secret identity, and the butler. Like, it's all here.
And he's the playboy that could never be Batman.
Correct. Yeah. So it's all here in a weird form. But the other note I took on this is acting in the 40s was weird because it's just the whole thing feels weird to me on so many levels.
Yeah. Well, my last comment on Batman is I'm not the biggest Batman aficionado. However, I do think if you look at the comics, there is a sort of appeal to this era of Batman where he's really just a regular person playing vigilante.
Yes.
He's not like an invincible wizard ninja who, So while I was watching this, I paused it and I watched a couple of clips of Batman from the new Robert Pattinson Batman. And that is a fairly typical modern Batman. Even though that movie is trying to kind of get back to Batman's early years before he had a jet and a submarine and everything,
right,
he still beats the living daylights out of 12 thugs. He's an unstoppable machine. Everyone he's fighting is just I mean, you feel like he's just beating on a bunch of helpless people, essentially. And I do think there is an appeal to like the earlier days of Batman when he wasn't quite such like an institution yet, and he was a little bit more of like a citizen vigilante.
Yes.
So, okay. That said, I'm going to get back to our episode, I promise. And we're actually pretty close to being done. But the plot of this first chapter is that, Daka, the sinister super spy or spymaster, his plot is he is gathering basically disgraced American scientists and such to his flock, like people that have some sort of a grudge against the
traitors.
US. Yeah. And a person he really wants to join his team is Linda's Uncle Martin or Marty.
It's
right.
Martin.
And Uncle Martin has spent a number of years in jail. We're going to learn much later that like this was unjust, but as he's getting out of jail, Linda's excited to, meet him and pick him up, but Daka scoops him up first.
Yes.
And I guess let's pause for a minute and just talk about Daka. John, do you want to? This is like the non-Japanese person dressed up and talking in a horrible stereotyped way.
Yes.
But can you tell us a little bit, like, what is Daka's deal?
So Daka's deal is he's the ultimate zealot. He worships the Emperor Hirohito, and he wants to stop at nothing but destroy and undermine the U.S. He's also very smart, and he always has a plan. So he is the sort of perfect villain in the sense that he seems like he could accomplish his goals unless somebody stops him. He doesn't seem like an incompetent buffoon as much as you want to. He's actually very controlled and measured and seems to know what he's doing.
And he's got all the aesthetics of a Bond villain.
Yes.
His lair is in a part of town called Little Tokyo, and there's a super racist voiceover part here that I won't share, but and you access his lair by going through an amusement park ride
called the Horrors of Japan, I believe.
Yes, the Japanese Cave of Horrors.
The Japanese Cave of Horrors, where it shows us like a lot of Japanese soldiers, like intimidating children and stuff. Yeah, again, terrible.
Yeah. So you ride through this terrible, like the world's worst theme park ride. It's kind of like the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland or something. You get in like kind of a slow moving cart, and you roll past these dioramas of Japanese like soldiers menacing women and stuff. And then somewhere in there's a secret door into his lair, which has a big Buddha, and it look, it's a pretty Bond villain looking lair.
He's got a big conference table, and he always sits at the head of the table, and he talks on his radio, and yeah. So, all right, just to wrap up this chapter, he has his thugs. He has a bunch of thugs who are all like these American traitors, you might say. And they pick up Uncle Martin. They pick up Martin at the jail. They drive off with him. Batman and Robin give chase briefly, but it doesn't work. And back in Daka's Cave of Horrors, he gives Martin a choice. You can join me willingly, like these other traitors here. Right.
Or I will turn you into a zombie.
Yes.
And then you'll just have to do my bidding whether you want to or not. So let's hear, grabbed an audio clip where in the course of threatening Martin, Daka says, well, if you're not going to go along with my plan, let's take a look at what's in store for you. And he calls out one of Martin's old friends who has been zombified.
Yes.
So let's hear that audio clip.
Bob, old man. Don't you know me? What have you done to him?
Deprived him of his ability to think. I've converted him into a zombie. He can only act as I direct. You will notice the metal headpiece from which a wire leads to the spine. Now, Mr. Warren, I would like you to look at this special microphone, the only means of communication with a zombie. When I speak into it, this slave gets the impulses through the headpiece and obeys my wishes. By this means, I have him carry out my orders no matter how far he is from me. Interesting, isn't it?
So apologies if that accent is like fingernails on a chalkboard.
Yeah. I will say he has a great line. I don't know if it's right here when Martin is still resisting, but he says, resistance is useless. I suggest you adopt an attitude of fatalistic resignation.
Yes. So in the end, Martin doesn't cooperate and he gets zombified. And John, will you want to describe the process of zombification?
So when you get zombified, they put this big like glass hood over your head, and some giant machine, like a panel of machinery, lights up and whirs and strobes and everything. And then when you come out, you're sort of mindless. He then puts the hat on you, the little tin hat, and then he can use that to control you. So it like wipes your mind. And then they put you in a pair of slacks and a turtleneck, and you're a zombie.
And I did get a lot of joy out of the mad scientist equipment here.
Yes.
I swear, one of the pieces of equipment is I think it's just a circular saw.
Yeah, spinning with lights on it. Yeah.
Because that has a distinctive noise as it like spins up and spins
Yes.
down. And I was like, that's just a circular saw. Okay. And with lights attached to it. Yes.
Yeah.
So Daka, though, it doesn't make a ton of sense, but the reason, what he's trying to do, he has a deadly ray gun.
Yes, the radium gun.
The radium gun. And he needs more radium to build a bigger and better version of the gun. We're going to learn that the bigger version is like, if like the normal radium gun is like 12 inches long, the super deadly version he's trying to create is like twice that length at most.
I was kind of hoping for like an orbiting space platform or a plane that was made out of a radium gun or something.
Like artillery gun, anti-aircraft gun sized thing. But no, it's just like a slightly larger version.
Yes.
Anyway, he needs radium, and one place that has radium is like a science lab or something attached to a hospital.
Yeah.
Right? Something
like that. He has to steal radium multiple. Most of the plot is him trying to steal radium.
Yes. So he takes a bunch of thugs, and they bring the zombie Martin with them, right?
Yes.
Do they bring? Yes. They try to break into. I didn't understand what was going on because they broke into the Gotham Foundation. Is it just like next door to the Gotham Foundation?
It must be. Like they didn't. Okay. It was a bit hand wavy, let's say.
Yeah. So the long and the short of it is Batman and Robin arrive on the roof just as the villains, and they get into every single episode. One of these chapters ends with a no stakes, uninteresting fist fight between Batman, Robin, and a bunch of indistinguishable thugs. Is that accurate?
Batman frequently loses. So one of the tropes of these serials is that our hero has to appear to die at the end, and then at the beginning of the next one, you see that they didn't actually die; they somehow escaped. That happened in Zombies of the Stratosphere. It happens here. But what that means is Batman has to get his butt kicked and like thrown on the train tracks or pushed over the side of a building or something at the end of every one. And maybe it's just because they're always outnumbered. But yeah, it just doesn't make old Bats look good.
No, he gets defeated in every one of these fistfights so that it can end on a cliffhanger. And in this case, so whatever, they're fight. It's all pretty hokey. Like I said, there's no real sense of stakes with this fight. And the villain escapes. Let's see. The zombie comes out and is fighting them. I don't know. There's a lot of shenanigans. The cliffhanger is that Batman gets chucked off of the roof.
Yes.
And so, the last shot is Batman comically, falling through the air. And the thing we're going to learn about these cliffhangers is they are all resolved by dumb luck, not by Batman, like, taking an action to save himself.
Or sometimes Robin intervenes and saves him, but that's about it.
It's like this curiously deflating experience where Batman gets the crap kicked out of him and then he's saved by random luck at the end of all these things. So at the end of it, though, the important thing, though, is Batman and Robin they've got the gun, right?
Yes, they end up with the gun.
That was a lot of time spent on that chapter. I am not going to spend that much time on these next chapters, but that is the close of chapter 1, the longest chapter, the one where we meet our heroes, our villains, and I guess the kind of overall stakes are set up here. Batman's got the gun, and Daka really wants it back, and Daka also needs radium to build a better version of it.
And radium is like the ammo for the gun as well.
Yes.
I will say here that the first 3 or 4 blend together for me because I watched them. I started watching the edited version, and then...
okay.
So, like at some point in these first 3, they try to steal a plane, and I'm not sure what exact chapter it is. So, like you'll have to lead me. Well, your summaries will tell me. So,
yeah. All right. So I'm going to start doing a thing where I'm just going to do 1 or 2 sentences to summarize each chapter. And then if you have something you want to mention, do so. Otherwise, I'll move on. So chapter 2 is called The Bat's Cave.
Yes.
And in this one, Daka tries to recover the radium gun from Batman. And he has Linda kidnapped. I don't remember exactly why. It doesn't matter. But Bruce and Dick trace her to where they're holding her in a hotel.
Yes.
And they have a fight scene where they rescue her, basically. I have one comment here, and that is... I have two comments. First, Batman's pants are hiked up so high, John. They're
like practically to his chest. It's like a pair of sweatpants or something. Yeah.
Like, think of your grandpa, like how high he hikes his pants,
Maybe
and
that's
then hike it up another couple inches, and that's what you've got.
Maybe that's why I thought he was really old, because he's dressed like my grandpa.
The other thing is, Alfred says something in this. He says, when telling someone that they're mistaken or on the wrong track, he says, "You're off the beam."
Yes.
Have you heard of that phrase?
I have not heard of that phrase. There's another phrase I captured later that I want to bring up, but I have not heard that, Ben.
So we actually get a lot of interaction with Alfred in this episode. So John, how has Alfred come across in this
Well,
series?
so first of all, if you want to picture Alfred, he is almost a double of the director John Waters from like the 80s and 90s, if that helps you at all. He looks exactly like him, which is weird. He is British, he's a bit effete, and he's a bumbling. They keep pressing him into service, make him put on costumes and stuff, and he always screws it up. So yeah, he's bumbling. He's sort of the butt of Batman and Robin's jokes.
That feels like one of the biggest differences here, just because the modern Alfreds are like much more in charge, and in some cases seem to have it together more than Batman does.
Yeah,
right?
and they're very wise. You know, Alfred's role in the modern Batman is to inject a bit of wisdom. Like, you know, it's no mistake that Alfred in the Nolan Batman movies has the line, "Some people just want to watch the world burn," right? Because he's the wise one who understands the world more than Batman. That's not the case here.
Yeah, so this one ends with a chase across a telephone wire, like Batman is carrying Linda across a telephone wire while some sparks slowly move up behind him. I don't really know. My dad's an electrician, not me. I don't think this is how electricity works, but who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe they did their research. So, and that brings us to chapter 3. And my attention at least momentarily perked up here because its title is "The Mark of the Zombies."
Yes, that's our best title of this whole thing.
So I misled us earlier. So this is actually the episode where Martin gets officially zombified.
Oh,
they threatened him with zombification earlier, and they showed him his zombie friend and stuff. But in this episode, Taka zombifies Uncle Martin, and then now he's going to blow up an American supply train, like a actual railroad train. But first, they try to recover the radium gun.
Right.
Batman has set a trap for them, but Taka he's smarter than your average,
Goon,
Axis idiot, I guess. Yeah. And various things happen, but it ends with sort of Taka's thugs going to try and destroy a supply train railroad bridge.
That's right.
And this is where we get his resistance is useless thing. And I did grab this as audio, John.
I didn't mean to ruin it for you.
No, it's fine. It's let's hear it.
Resistance is useless, Warren. I suggest that you adopt an attitude of fatalistic resignation.
You underestimate the American will to fight, Jacob. We fight best on the face of your so-called inevitable.
Oh, you do? Well, we shall see about that. Proceed, gentlemen.
So that is Daka starting the process to zombify Uncle Martin.
That's right.
And he gives a little patriotic speech. It doesn't matter. He does in fact get zombified.
Yep.
And he now obeys Taka's commands. So this one ends like they all do, with a lot of fisticuffs.
Yes.
Including a lot of fisticuffs on a railroad track.
Trestle, yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I wish there was more like meat to the zombie stuff here. Can we talk about the zombies for a quick sec? Since
we can.
So what kind of zombies are these?
So these have, since we've gone back in time, this feels like we've even gone further back in time than 1943. It's essentially zombies created by a zombie master, though in this case the means are technical and scientific. It's the same vibe. They have no will. They're still alive, but they're under the control of a zombie master who can control their every action and no one can resist.
Yeah, I suppose we'll talk about this in our wrap-up questions, but these zombies, they're purely technologically created. There's nothing mystical about them. And yet, by linking them to this stereotyped Japanese evil bad guy,
right,
I think they are evoking a sort of Orientalist mystique
yes,
about the whole zombification process. So Chapter 4, Slaves of the Rising Sun.
Yeah.
In this chapter, Daka continues to try and retrieve the radium gun, this time by tricking Linda into visiting a fake fortune teller.
That's right.
It got kind of
and
weird.
then Bruce Wayne takes the place of the fortune teller, and she doesn't recognize him, and yeah, it was weird.
And it ends in a car chase, not with the Batmobile, just with a regular car,
Right.
which is not very exciting to be totally frank with
Yeah.
you. We do learn in this episode that Taka, he truly does have a Bond villain lair because he has pet alligators in his lair.
Yeah, he does have a floor that flips open, and there's alligators down there. That was kind of great.
Yes, and we see this demonstrated on one of his lieutenants, who gives them a little bit of patriotic sass.
Yes.
So let's hear that.
I don't need any handwriting on the wall to tell me who's going to come out on top in this war, because it's written as plain and black as death in every newspaper. That's what I came back to tell you, because I'm not afraid of you. You've shot your boat, Daka. You and all your Axis cronies. You're through.
Are we?
I'm quoting from the winning side, Daka. And believe me, that's right where I'm going to be.
But you do not believe it is so simple as all that. Now, do you? The League of the New Order of Hirohito, heavenly ruler and prince of the rising sun, marches on, and nothing will ever stop it. You might just as well try to stop the tides and the winds.
So we get that little
Yes.
exchange. Unfortunately for our thug, who in his last moments got a burst of American patriotism, he's about to get dropped into the alligator pit.
Yeah,
So-
and it is kind of delightful where Daka, like at certain points, like feeds the alligators, right? And then he's like, but not
Yes.
too much, so they're still hungry. Like, yes, he's very villainous with his alligators.
I gotta say, I mean, I truly love these pulpy, melodramatic lines.
I do too.
If they could just be separated out from sort of the racist context, I would be absolutely eating this stuff up.
Yeah, I agree.
Like you and your Axis cronies,
Yes.
like that sort of stuff. I love that stuff. But all right, the trick, they kidnap Linda again. Linda gets kidnapped
At
lot
least
in
4
these.
times.
I'm already mixed up on what happens, but Batman, who still has the radium gun, is actually using it to fight the thugs. He uses it to like break into the thugs' truck at the end.
Yes.
There's a car chase, blah blah blah. I
Goes
guess
over the
last
cliff,
thing,
blah, blah, blah.
yeah, the last thing I was going to mention is that, like, so by now Daka is aware of the name the Batman.
Correct.
And he is starting to get really annoyed at this thorn in his side.
Yes.
So, Chapter 5, The Living Corpse. In this one, a Japanese submarine has a special delivery for Daka, a zombie, and I think a genuinely new use of a zombie for us.
What a weird way to deliver a secret message.
Yes. We'll get to it in just a second. Batman and Robin, meanwhile, are assigned by the U.S. government to intercept Daka's plot to steal an experimental aircraft.
Aha. Okay.
So let's talk about this Japanese submarine radios into Daka and says, we've got a special message for you. And what is the form that message takes, John?
So they in a pine coffin is a dead Japanese soldier who's been given a secret, and Daka uses his technology to revive him just long enough to tell Daka the secret, and then he lets him die again.
I have to say, that is a pretty cool
That's
use of a
pretty
zombie.
clever.
So then Batman and Robin head off in disguise, pretending to work at the airfield where this experimental plane is based.
Batman does get in a lot of disguises here. We don't need to go into them in detail, but like this is definitely an aspect of his character that he doesn't do as much now.
Oh, yeah. Well, like the second half of the serial is based almost entirely around a role he plays.
Chuck White.
And
yeah.
I do think it is part of this like low tech. He's supposedly more clever than powerful, if that makes sense. At any rate, some Daka's zombies get into the experimental plane and take off with it. And John, was there enough of this plane for you to recognize what it was?
Yes. And at first I almost didn't. So our experimental plane is actually a Stilson Model A. It is what is called a triprop, which this is one of the only American triprops. So imagine a plane, instead of having a propeller on its nose, like a fighter plane, or 2 on its wings, like a bomber, it has both. So it has 3 engines, one on the front. A lot of Italian planes at this time were like this. This is actually just an airliner, a very early airliner, but they stopped production in 1936. So this experimental plane hasn't been produced in 7 years. And I think in 1937, I think they even couldn't fly it anymore because there was an Australian Airlines crash involving one. So in any case, it is a weird looking plane and it's very old.
And the U.S. military, not realizing that Batman is in the plane, receives word that it's been stolen by the zombies, and they open fire on it.
Yeah, with anti-aircraft guns that are like real, like it's a clip of real anti-aircraft guns shooting into the air.
Yes. In like the middle of America, by the way.
In the middle of somewhere in California. Yeah, I don't even know where they are. Gotham, I guess.
Well, what is Gotham? Is Gotham City supposed to be like Chicago or something?
Well, yes and no. Like, I think it's just supposed to be the dark side of New York, right? Like, Metropolis is the bright side, and Gotham
to stand
is
in
the
for
dark
New York.
side. Yeah. But we tend to think of it as Chicago, I think, these days. And that's where the Nolan Batman films were made.
Okay. Well, that leads us to Chapter 6, Poison Peril. The plane crashes, but as is always the case, Batman just survives, like through no
I forget how he survived this time. But he did.
He just wasn't hurt by it.
Okay.
Like it's not. I don't think it's even explained.
Later, he gets in what is a terrifying car crash, like legitimately terrifying, and he like has his arm in a sling, which he immediately takes out of the sling. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I didn't do my blurb for this one. With the plane crashed, Daka decides to try and get the blueprints for the plane.
That's right.
But when his Japanese submarine is sunk by American warships, he must shift plans to take advantage of a guy named Mr. Colton, who has found a mine from which radium can be processed.
Yes.
And is, I think, a friend of Bruce Wayne's or something like that.
Yeah.
So this starts this long multi-chapter story arc where Daka is trying to get ownership and control of this mine
because he needs the radium for his gun. This is the only consistent plot line. Like every other episode is like, let's figure out how to do one thing. Let's try one thing to get the radium. And then now we get into like multiple episodes where we're following one narrative thread for a change.
Yeah. So not a lot. I mean, that was all the exciting stuff from this episode. Most of this episode is they meet this Mr. Colton. Daka, I think, makes an attempt to trick him into handing over or revealing the location of the mine. It doesn't work. And it ends with a fist fight. And this is where I noted in my notes, like how boring these fist fights are and how repetitive they are. They never result in something like interesting happening plot wise.
Right.
They only result in like a Batman getting in a cliffhanger. In this case, the cliffhanger is Batman gets knocked out next to some chemicals that are about to explode.
That's right. Inside of a factory that will dissolve him immediately or something.
Yes. And so that in Chapter 7, so having failed to like trick their way into ownership of this mine, we move to Chapter 7, The Phony Doctor.
Yes.
To get the claim to the mine, Daka sends a fake doctor to Colton to gain his trust and then find out where the mine is located and or where its ownership papers are.
And how does the phony doctor incapacitate Colton, Andy?
It looks like he strangles him.
No,
kind of, right?
He uses chloroform on a rag. And then later Batman discovers the chloroform and figures out that's how it was done. But it was an absolute 3 seconds of chloroform and you're out cold kind of thing.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a inside joke, listeners. In our episode on Dr. Blood's coffin, we learned that the time it takes to chloroform someone is 5 minutes of continual inhalation of the chemical. So, but not here.
Not here.
We also learned, by the way that Batman survived that giant chemical explosion is, quote, some fallen beams protected him. So I guess that was just lucky. So the fake doctor tricks Mr. Colton, knocks him out, and they capture Colton and bring him to Daka's supervillain lair.
Yep.
And this is the one chapter where they do show Batman doing some detective work.
Yes.
Because remember, Batman's whole deal is he's not Superman. He doesn't have superpowers. He's supposedly just a really smart detective.
And that's sort of my favorite aspect of Batman. Not in this movie, but just in general. Like, I like it when he goes in detective mode.
Agreed. Yeah. And he finds some clues that point him to a Japanese laundromat. But we do get some zombie action in this episode.
Wait, do you know what the clue was that pointed him to the laundromat?
It was like a stamp on a receipt or something.
He did a black light on the linens, and under the black light, the name in Japanese pops up of the laundromat, which he reads.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, and I think it was the rag that was used to drug Colton. And so he figured out it came from a Japanese laundry.
They brand their chloroform.
Yeah.
Right? So that's good to know.
Yeah. And why the laundry has their name on somebody else's rag, I have no idea. But let's not think about it too hard.
Yeah. If you think Batman's really closing in on Daka's lair, I'm sorry to tell you that he is not.
Yeah, but, we get into this whole, what is the name of it? Never mind. Stupid club, they find out. Yeah.
We need to pick up the pace here. It's my fault. I'm being slow here. But I just wanted to say we do get some zombie action in this episode because Daka threatens Colton into taking him to his mine.
Yes.
By having one of the zombified guys come out and strangle Colton to demonstrate like how under Daka's control the zombies are.
And he even gets Colton to the point where he's gonna turn him into a zombie, and then Colton capitulates.
Yes, exactly. So that leads us to chapter 8, Lured by Radium. And this is really a continuation of the last one. In this one, Daka, he zombifies Colton, or comes really close to zombifying Colton, and finally forces him to reveal the location of that radium mine.
And then Bruce and Dick and Linda drive from wherever they are to this mine.
They all drive out to the mine, which is in like the California hills.
Yes.
And they have a condescending interaction with an Indian gas station owner.
Yeah.
The hoodlums have a condescending interaction.
Oh, so do the heroes, though. They also have a condescending interaction.
I thought they were a little nicer, but you're right. They were not as...
It was friendly condescension.
It was friendly condescension. It's still a horrible stereotype.
So some convoluted stuff comes up here about the location of the mine. I'm not going to go down that. I'm not going to go down that.
Don't do it.
At the end of this, though, everyone, for various reasons, Colton, Batman, Robin, all the thugs, and Linda are all converging in the mine when some explosives go off. And the explosives are set by Mr. Colton, who doesn't realize all the heroes are in the mine. He's trying to kill the thugs.
Yes, there's only one good thing in this episode, in that he escapes the thugs, and he goes, and there's a secret tunnel that leads back to his own cabin that he can access through a trap door, which he has put right under the one table in the cabin. So when he opens it, the table flips over to scare Linda. So I thought there's so many bad choices here, but it's delightful. So
yes, that was a good moment. So chapter 9, The Sign of the Sphinx. So with the explosives going off, Daka's plan to get this mine are ruined because it will take too long to clear all the rubble out of the mine.
Right.
So Daka has to find something else to do with this time. And this is where Batman, this starts kind of like the final story arc of the serial, because Batman decides.
Can we pause for a second?
Yeah.
Because at the start of this episode, I believe is where the henchmen, like all previous episodes, say, we killed him. We got him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so I'd like to play my favorite clip of the whole series from Daka.
Okay.
There you go.
I personally killed him on the wharf outside the club.
I do not appreciate your sense of humor. I wonder if there's more than one Batman. All members of the same organization.
Yes.
I just love that. I wish there was more than one Batman.
Daka's only conclusion is there must be more than one Batman
organization. Yeah. And like, it's hard to, it's very funny. So in every episode, the thugs knock Batman unconscious basically. And Batman will be lying there on the floor.
And they're like, well, just leave him here. He'll die in the fire. Just leave him here. He'll drown. Just leave him here.
They all have guns, and they're like literally standing over him, and they will all decide, oh, he'll probably be killed when this place collapses.
Yeah, so the train comes or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, but in this one, we start the final plot thread of the serial, and that is where Bruce Wayne kind of goes into this like long-term undercover role as Chuck White,
yes,
he's pretending to be basically like a drifter thug, like a gangster,
unshaven,
scoundrel,
smoking,
right?
with a rumpled hat,
and so he still looks like Bruce Wayne, but they put makeup on him to make him look like kind of a smarmy,
they give him a fake nose,
thug. Yeah. At one point, Linda says the phrase, "If it hadn't been for Batman, I'd be dead." And that is demonstrably not true, by the way. Like, Batman did nothing to help Linda.
love the mix of reality here. It's like they say things like that, and I'm like, you mean the guy who just got his ass kicked 7 episodes in a row? Like,
yes.
Is that the Batman we're talking about? I just want to be clear. Yeah.
They do a cool ruse in this one. They've captured one of the thugs, and they leave him in the Batcave, where he quickly gets out of his like handcuffs or whatever. But it's all a trick because they know they made it easy for him to break out, and they're going to track like who he tries to call and report to. And so they are, I guess, creeping slightly closer to DACA. But where they wind up is they find out that like the bad guys are using the Sphinx Club as sort of a base of operations. So that's when Bruce Wayne dresses up as Chuck the gangster. He goes to the Sphinx Club. Another fist fight breaks out. Batman's once again knocked out at the end. We move into chapter 10, Flying Spies.
Yes.
So DACA learns of a new supply of radium that's being flown in, and he has a spy on the plane with the radium who is going to drop the radium out the window of a plane.
Yes, with a little parachute.
And his DACA's thugs are going to pick up the radium when it lands, and Chuck is sort of like a probationary
probationary
member of the gang. Probationary, yes. So this is like they're going to take Chuck with them to test him out. So various stuff goes on. We do a couple of times throughout the serial. It happens in this episode. We are having various scenes where like Linda was planning on going on a date with Bruce Wayne, but Bruce Wayne, stood her up because he was being Batman. And so you have a little scene where she's like, if only you were as cool as Batman and not such a loser. That is part of the Batman story to this day. So.
Yeah, and what I love about this is a DC-3 airliner, and the thug just smashes one of the windows with the butt of his pistol, and nothing happens. He just throws the thing out the window.
I've seen a lot of movies where that results in you being sucked through the window. Is that
that's?
Okay.
I think it's the reality is probably somewhere in between, but certainly it's not. Nothing happens.
Right. Yes.
Imagine opening a window when you're going 300 miles an hour. That's all I'm trying to say.
So the spy drops the radium out the plane window, which is kind of funny. Various shenanigans ensue, and this is where Batman. I kind of was starting to zone
Chuck
out
White
at this
is
point.
there, and then Batman shows up, and they go, "Oh, Batman must have been Chuck White. Must be Batman."
Oh yes,
that's
right.
That's how he misdirects them. Yeah,
that's okay. That's right. And then there's a car chase. Batman's driving a car and it explodes.
Yes.
And then that leads us to chapter 11, a Nipponese trap.
Yes.
Apologies for the dated term there. In this episode, with the radium, DACA can now start working on building a super radium gun.
Yes.
But they have to first tie up the loose end that is Chuck White.
That's right.
And I also noted here, we have not seen zombies in quite a while.
No, they take long breaks
They
here.
kind of dropped out of the story.
Yeah.
They will come back eventually. But so the villain's got the radium. Batman, one of the thugs says, "The Batman? That guy's got more lives than a cat. But this time we finished him for sure."
Yeah.
So
the confidence is amazing.
They make a weird, complicated scheme to like take out Chuck, who they think is Batman.
Yep. None of their plans involve just shooting him.
No.
Though they do clearly have guns, and they do shoot other people.
And this ends with Batman knocked out, as he usually is. They take his mask off, and he's in his Chuck makeup under the mask. So it confirms their suspicion that Chuck is Batman. Then instead of shooting him, they hatch the scheme again. Like, well, we're going to set fire to the building, and he'll be killed by the fire. And then that leads us to chapter 12, Embers of Evil. And guys, like the end is on the horizon.
We're close.
DACA wants to trap Batman. So DACA has a pack of poison cigarettes.
Did you catch the brand?
Medusa
brand cigarettes.
Yes. This is where I started really eyeing the like ×2 speed on YouTube. So my recaps might get a little hazy at this point. But he uses zombie Uncle Martin to trick Linda again.
Yes.
Linda has now fallen for this like 800 times. And he lures Batman and Linda to the Ajax factory, which they then try to burn down to kill Batman.
Again.
It doesn't work. Batman and Robin attack, blah, blah, blah. Not much else.
I will say there's like
episode.
some acting right near fire here that looked like they would never allow somebody to do that today in a movie, like on a movie set. Fire that real, that close to it, even a stuntman would be like an enormous no-no. So
yeah, they're nervously looking at the fire as they try and say their lines. All right, chapter 13, 8 Steps Down, which I didn't get what that was referring
I didn't
to.
either, but it's the excuse to go to the... Finally, he's found the secret lair. So he's got to go down to the secret lair.
Yes. So in this episode, Daka is still building his slightly bigger radium gun.
Right.
Batman continues to try to track down where Linda is being held prisoner. That's right. So Linda is captured, and she's in Daka's base, like, lair now.
Yes.
So Daka thinks Bruce Wayne might be Batman and wants Linda to lure him into a trap. I don't really remember why Daka now thinks Bruce Wayne is Batman.
Me neither.
But whatever. We do find out that Linda is also a racist in this chapter. So that we're checking off the list of people that haven't, of people, as they say, racist things. Daka shows off zombie Uncle Martin to Linda and threatens to zombify Linda, which would make her one of our rare female zombies of this era.
But he does zombify her.
And he does put her in the zombie machine. She doesn't get zombified until the next episode because Batman charges in and Batman gets dropped into a pit with spiked walls that close in, like the trash compactor scene in Star Wars.
That's right.
Then we move to chapter 14, the Executioner Strike. So Batman's escaping that walled pit trap in a dumb way.
With a crowbar, which is actually kind of what they tried to do in Star Wars to close the trash compactor.
Did you notice, like, the crowbar he's got is like 6 feet long?
Yeah.
Like, it's like,
that's quite a
every
crowbar
I've seen is what, like 18 inches long or something? I don't know. Anyway, but Daka does zombify Linda. He puts her in the machine. He turns on the circular saw, lights flash, and she is now a mindless slave of Daka.
That's right. And she has to wear a hat. Everybody has to wear a hat to cover their zombie helmet so that Batman doesn't know they're zombies.
Yes, exactly. So then, for various reasons, Batman then, he's pretty close. He's like almost in Daka's lair, but he regroups back at his house for some reason. And a whole new scheme happens where they lure Bruce Wayne into a trap. And even though he knows it's a trap, he lets himself get knocked out. And they're going to transport knocked out Bruce Wayne by putting him into a coffin. Oh, no, it's knocked out Batman. Anyway, whatever. They knock him out.
They put him in a coffin.
And Daka plans to feed Batman to his alligators. And that's the cliffhanger at the end of this episode. They show them dumping the coffin into the alligator pit, and you hear somebody getting chewed up in there. It's obviously not Batman, though, because we are about to start chapter 15, the final episode.
Yes.
The Doom of the Rising Sun. This is where we learn, this is the final confrontation between Batman and Daka.
That's right.
And this is where we learn Batman escaped getting fed to alligators because he tricked them. He knocked out one of the thugs and put the thug in
Robin
the coffin
saved
instead.
him.
Oh, Robin saved him.
That's right.
They realize as they dump the coffin in that it's not Batman, it's a thug. And Daka says that's the price he pays for carelessness. So don't really want to work for this guy. But
no.
Then Batman and Robin finally make their way through the amusement park ride that you take to get into Daka's lair,
yes.
Which is funny.
Yeah, they methodically, everybody who wants, they like telegraph every time anybody wants to go into the secret base. They go in, they get in the car, they start the ride, they go past all the things, and then they get off and get in the base. And they do that a dozen times in this era.
Comically, one of the Japanese guys in the diorama is a real soldier who's just sitting there holding really still. He's like guarding the entrance to the base.
And that guy works all the time. Like he never gets time off.
Every episode.
Or does he?
Every episode he's there.
Yeah.
And they've been foreshadowing his usage.
Yes. It's quite masterful, I think is what you're going for.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Thank you. His performance is stunning is what I'm trying to say.
So can we talk about the way people get into Daka's lair is they scan their hand.
Yes.
And then Daka sees like an X-ray of their hand, their skeleton hand.
Yeah, with like a superimposed
and buzzes them
thing.
in.
Yeah.
And so when Batman puts his hand, it his X-ray has a little bat symbol in it. Like, is that a ring he's wearing?
I don't know what that is. Like, it's just, I think they're trying to say there's some advanced technology that can identify the person.
Oh, I see. I thought he was like Batman on like a molecular level or something.
No, who knows? Yes, that would have to be how it is, because how else would he know? Anyway, let's not overthink the X-ray machine that can tell you who's Batman or not.
Yeah. Batman makes his way into the lair. He's attacked by zombie Uncle Martin, and this is where we learn that even Batman is a racist.
Yes.
Because he spouts some racist stuff. The zombies drag Batman down to the lab. They're going to zombify Batman. There is a very satisfying scene where DACA orders zombie Linda to slap Batman across the face. I laughed out loud.
That's pretty great.
If there's like one clip to watch from this, I think it's that one.
Yes.
So DACA's about to take off Batman's mask before he zombifies him. He's doing his gloating routine.
Of course.
And Robin breaks in. They capture DACA. Then they threaten to zombify DACA if he doesn't tell them how to free his zombie slaves. They do. He tells them how to unzombify Linda and Uncle Martin. They go through his paperwork and find his whole network of Axis spies. And then DACA tries to make a run for it. But what ironic and fitting fate does he meet?
It's
John?
actually kind of funny because what Batman shouts is close that door, right? Like by using one of the switches on DACA's console of switches that control his little contraptions. And Robin hits the wrong one and drops him in with the alligators. So they wanted to drop him in with the alligators, but they can't make it seem like Robin, who's a kid, did it on purpose. So that's how they had to make that happen.
Yes. Okay, guys, this has gone on long enough and we've reached the end. Truth and justice has prevailed over the Axis menace.
Yes.
Any last thoughts, John?
Yes. As they drive away, Alfred says, so this is 1943. My mother was born in 1935. Alfred says, and now we're cooking with gas. And my mother used to say that all the time. And I never realized it was like a slang expression from when she was a kid. So that's the one last note I have on this.
Okay. Well, you're off the beam and cooking with gas. Alfred introduced a lot of cool phrases into the English language.
I looked up off the beam for you.
Oh, yeah?
It's from planes who would follow a radio beam. And if you were off the beam, you weren't on target.
Aha.
Doesn't it sound like something that somebody in the Dark Tower series would say?
Absolutely, though. The beam is a thing in the Dark Tower.
Yes.
That's all I kept thinking of.
All right. Well, John, it's time to wrap this up.
Please.
So we have a bunch of closing questions we're going to ask. And they start with, John, in The Batman, is there a hero party?
Yes. There's Batman and Robin and Alfred and Linda. So that's a hero party.
And how do they do? How many survive?
They survived, but they all get their butts kicked a bunch of times, except for Linda, who just gets captured a bunch of times.
And she gets zombified.
And she does get zombified.
Maybe importantly is not the word to use there, but All right. Is there a zombie horde in this?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, they're trying to imply that DACA has a horde of zombies at his command, but all he does is really ask them to pick up heavy things and one time kill somebody. So
he is strangely unambitious with his
Yes,
zombies.
he goes to a lot of trouble to make zombies, but doesn't really do all that much with them.
Yeah, it's implied that he would rather have you cooperate willingly than have to be turned into a zombie. So, is it harder to get information out of a zombie or something? He always tries to get you to join him willingly.
The zombie
first.
is like his threat, right? Do this or I'll make you into a zombie.
But he does follow through on it a couple of times.
Yeah.
So, how are zombies destroyed or killed?
I think at one point one of them just gets shot.
Yes, I think so too. It's it's not Uncle Martin, but it's the friend of his,
yes.
I think. Yeah, so I think it's suggested that they're just regular people as far as vulnerabilities go. Is the world threatened in The Batman?
You know what? I'm going to give this movie credit and say yes. There's an evil plot to take over the United States. It doesn't make any sense. It involves a single radium gun, but I'm still going to say the world is threatened. I can't say how it's threatened. All I can say is that clearly we're supposed to feel like we're threatened.
Yes. Oh, yeah, you're correct. the super version of the radium gun, like I think it has maybe the destructive capability of like a bazooka.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Like, anyway, is zombieism reversible?
Yes, because Linda gets unzombified. I think her and her
It
uncle
does,
does
but
too.
You do have to go back through a technological process to be
Yes,
unzombified.
it doesn't
though.
just happen.
How fast are the zombies? Are they slow, fast, or regular human
They're
speed?
slow, and they walk really slow in turtlenecks. Yeah.
Are there any new strains or zombie firsts?
I don't think so. I mean, I'm trying to think of this relative in time, but even in the time, I mean, I guess this is before the creature with the atom brain, and so maybe this was an inspiration for that. But even that, like creature with the atom brain, the important part is not the brain implant. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So I don't really think so.
I had two.
Okay.
I have one as well.
All right, lay 'em
Go
on
ahead,
me.
Brad.
I had the first superhero versus zombie.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
And then I had the first zombie messenger where they
I did like that.
revived the
Yeah,
cadaver.
that's pretty clever. All right, I'll take that.
I'm going to go as far as to say that is the one cool idea out of this whole thing, I think, is a zombie as a messenger.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so John, when we started this podcast, you laid out 4 pillars of the zombie film. How many of them are we going to find in the Batman serial?
All right.
First of all, in the Batman, is there an apocalypse?
There is not. Other than World War II is kind of an apocalypse, but we're going to say no.
Not in the way that we meant. Is there contagion?
No. Because you have to.
Are there?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I don't need to clarify that further. There is no contagion in this film. Carry on, Andy.
No. Are there tough moral choices?
No, the good guys are good and racist, and the villains are just villainous.
The closest thing you have to tough moral choices are like deciding if you're going to
get turned
go
into a
along
zombie
with
or not.
DACA or get turned into a zombie, but that's not really a very good choice. Are there loved ones turning against you?
Yes, that's the one thing that is here, right? Uncle Martin, Linda slaps Batman, which is delightful, but that still counts.
I love that so much. Like I want to go watch that scene again right now as we discuss this. But there's a loud, meaty slap too.
Yeah.
That's what makes it work. Okay, and let's see, John. We always close with 3 questions. We sometimes take a little side detour and talk about questions about the decade in which the movie came out, but I think we're going to skip that
this
for
time.
now.
Yeah.
So we're going to jump right to our closing 3 questions. John, would you and I survive in the zombie world of the Batman?
I am not sure. I think DACA could turn me into a zombie, and he is villainous, so he could kill me. Maybe.
For all of this film's many flaws, one mistake it does not make is make DACA a buffoonish character.
Correct.
He's like a pretty smart villain. He reacts quickly to like Batman shenanigans. He is thinking a couple of steps ahead.
Yep.
So I think I might fall into the sinister web of Dr. DACA.
Yeah.
Well, I think as long as either one of you has a sidekick, you'll be fine.
Yes.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, nappy-headed sidekick will be fine.
Also, if Batman gets beat up by all these thugs, there's no chance I would.
Yeah, that is true.
Thugs.
Yeah.
So, is this a zombie movie or a movie with zombies?
It is a movie with zombies. Zombies
No
are not the
argument
point
there.
of this movie. They are frequently gone from the film. They don't really have an impact on the film other than as like a device to intimidate people. I think they're very secondary in this movie.
Agreed. Lastly, John, would you recommend this movie first to general audience? And let me expand that. If somebody listening to this is a Batman fan, is this worth digging out as a Batman artifact? And secondly, do you recommend this to our zombie-loving listeners?
Well, so you've given me 3 opportunities to say no. And I'm going to say it 3 times. No, no, and no. Yeah, there's very little new zombie stuff here. The serial, not only is this serial, like if we compare it to another early 1940s film, Revenge of the Zombies, like the quality of the serial is really poor. It's really uncomfortable. There's a piece of anti-Japanese war propaganda. Like there's nothing I can recommend about it.
Yes, I'd agree. Here's my caveat. If you have, I think this is it would be educational for you to watch like 10 minutes of this, like say the first chapter of this, if you have not seen something like this, which is to say, if you haven't seen racist government propaganda, this is a interesting artifact in that sense.
Yes. Yeah, you're right.
Other than that, it as a piece of entertainment, it is kind of racist garbage, basically, and I don't recommend it, nor does it have enough zombie goodness in it to make it worth like trying to mine the zombie stuff out of it.
And the couple good lines we pulled out of it, that's kind of it. So there's not other gems we didn't share with you. That's it.
Right.
So
yes. Yeah. Okay. Well, then it's time for the scariest part of this episode. And I just want to say, this was a scary one, guys.
Yeah.
Like, so Brad, I'm looking at you with hopeful eyes. This is where Brad reveals to us what we're going to watch.
Yeah,
next.
I didn't realize producer Brad could use the length of a movie as an intimidation technique. So there's a new factor of horror here.
I'm happy to say that should be the last serial that we watch. So I can't say that there's not going to be another 400-minute movie in the future. I don't know.
Yeah, but I think we can all agree the Captain America serial watching podcast we were thinking about is now off the table.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yes.
All right. So our next zombie film was released in 1965, around the same time as An Evening with Batman and Robin. And I'd like to, before I show you the poster, play a clip. Here you go.
Terror creatures from the grave.
Avenge me! I've summoned you! Avenge me!
Go back to the dead!
In a dreadful night of reckoning, the forces of darkness strike with blood-freezing horror.
I mean,
this trailer so has me.
Yeah, that sounds great. And this poster is also great. It's 5. Oh, wait, hold on a second. Where is this? Ralph Zucker, what is happening here?
It's Italian. The English translation is Terror Creatures from the Grave.
But is this Italian?
It's an Italian-American co-production.
Okay.
There is no way that is a literal translation of its Italian title here, which is like 5 tombs and 1 medium or something.
Interesting. Well, let me describe the poster. So it's got a man holding a woman who appears to have fainted in the foreground, and underneath that it's got the actress's name, Barbara Steele. Behind them is a graveyard, and there's a zombie creeping up on them, and then over the zombie's shoulder is this giant woman's face that is blue. And the sky is kind of red. It's kind of a cool poster. I don't know. I'm kind of pumped here.
Should we know who Barbara Steele is based on the podcast so far?
Not so far,
Okay.
but we'll find out next week.
No spoilers.
All right. I'm getting ahead of ourselves. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to that one. So, hey, John, will you sign us out?
Yes. Thank you for listening to us talk about The Batman or An Evening with Batman and Robin. Next time, we're going to talk about, what's it called again, Producer Brad?
Terror Creatures from the Grave.
Terror Creatures from the Grave. This sounds like a pretty great zombie movie, so everybody, join us next time. You've been listening to Zombie Strains. We'll be back next episode to talk about another zombie movie. If you enjoyed our podcast, please take a moment to rate us in your podcast app of choice. Tell a friend. Follow us on Instagram at Zombie Strains. All of this helps like-minded people find the show. See you next time.